Today we got two projects, both Blood Bowl related. The first one is a stunty adjacent team, and two, a Blood Bowl display board slash tracking aid thing. Basically, this, but something I can take with me when I go play that has a diorama set up into it. Basically this, but more fun. Let's get into it. So this video is going to focus on the tracker. For that, we start with a steel sheet, and this steel sheet will be glued into our DB17 doll exhibit box. This is how we're going to transport our magnetized minis. And here is my poorly drawn plan. The bottom level will be where the steel plate lives after I paint it black, and then I'll create 3 sections for reserves, KOs, and the injured players, as well as space in the front for our turn tracker. The back will host 3 arches that hold the roof over the players, and there'll be 1-inch thick wooden dowels that will give the minis below about 3 inches of headspace, which I assume should be more than enough. The top will be split into 3 sections as well: crowd left, the announcer's box, and crowd right. To be honest, I only had a vague idea of what these sections were going to look like. Mostly I wanted to get the structure done, and I would figure out the rest when I got there. In the last picture, I put the 2 halves together. I added these 2 turn trackers in the middle, as well as bribes on the left and rerolls on the right. At this point, I wasn't sure quite how to implement these, but I figured that I could use magnets to stick them to the bottom. Anywhere else would interfere with the players or get in the way of the diorama. After dry fitting, I cut the main supports down to size, including the floor, where the stands will go, and the arches that support them. These will all be connected with construction adhesive because I want to make it as robust as I can. I don't plan on throwing it around, but I also don't want a repeat of the Griswold Memorial Stadium. Bonus points if you get that reference. While we wait for that to dry, let's make some stands. Initially I was using the Jenga blocks to sketch it out, and it works well. The Jenga blocks themselves are a little too tall though. So what I'm going to do is get the measurements of those Jenga blocks and essentially replicate them with foam, but make them a little bit shorter. I forgot to hit record, so just pretend I cut all of this foam, kind of based on this, but smaller. While the arches dried, I 3D printed some tiles for the turn tracker, and holy shit, it's starting to look pretty cool. I then covered the arches in caulk, using a texture roller to get all the details. I love this method, and you see it a lot in my projects. Next, I gave the bottom portion a quick paint job. I figured it would be harder to paint when it was all put together, so I just did it now. At this point, I glued it in place and was careful not to let it overhang anywhere that would interfere with the lid closing. What's up? So it's here. It's been glued down, but I am afraid that I'm going to put too much weight on this at some point and it's going to snap. I don't want that to happen. So I'll be using this guy to put screws in the bottom. I'm also going to add little supports here. It's probably super overkill, but I'd rather do it and save myself the heartache of breaking it. So yeah, let's do it. Pro tip: if you've never put screws into something before, make sure to drill a pilot hole first. This saves you from damaging wood and will make the screw go in a lot easier. For those additional supports I talked about earlier, I've made them out of some wooden numbers that I had lying around, cut them to shape, painted them silver, boom. Then, back to the stands. All of the top portion will be lightly textured and painted to match the bottom. I'm keeping the colors here intentionally dark so that the colorful crowd can draw the eye more than the construction. It is 4:30 in the morning, and I'm awake. I had a dream that the city Polar expressed a train through my front yard, and I was debating if I should take the train to go see my grandpa, or if I should drive with some family to go see him, because he was in a home. And then I was thinking about it, because he wasn't in a home, he stayed at home. Then I remembered that 10, 11 years ago he passed. I was in my dream trying to figure out how I'd go visit him. And then I just kind of thought, what would I say if I got to see him again? And I know this is like tense and awkward online in a YouTube video, I'm sorry. It relates to the hobby, I promise. Because the answer is I don't think I would say anything. I think I would just show him some of the stuff that I've made. He was a big collector. He had like hundreds of Hot Wheels and knives and things like that. I think he'd just get it, And my grandma would, she'd be like, "Ay, mijo," and she'd be really happy for me, but that would be it. Anyway, it's 4:30. I think I'm gonna start working on stuff. Taking advantage of that early morning, there was just a few things left to paint and one obstacle to overcome. I need a way to track rerolls and bribes. I picked these really cheap little clips up from Goodwill a while back and figured if I modified them a bit and added a magnet, I can get them to fit under the stands and above the players. Thin enough to not get in the way of the players, and short enough that I can put them backwards if they're not needed. Here's how they look after some paint. Speaking of paint, it's that time. Time to paint the whole crowd. These models are predominantly from Kraken 3D Studios, with a couple of added models I had lying around. The Kraken stuff has a lot of charm, and I kinda wish I had made it bigger to fit another row of seats. Maybe next time. Speaking of seats, my announcers were designed by Josh, but in 3D, who has a whole professional wrestling work range I absolutely love. I only have the announcer set now, but once I can think of a way to use the rest of them, I'll be picking them up for sure. And by the magic of YouTube, everything is painted. Only thing left to do? Glue it all together.